Now, on Good Morning Northwest, tragedy on the U of I campus. 4 students dead, another in the hospital. The new information we're learning and the questions we're hoping to be answered.
Now to new details on the murder of 4 students at the University of Idaho. The campus is shutting down for the holidays with the killer still on the loose. And we're getting a new look at the so-called party house where the victims lived and hearing from one student who once lived there. Andrew Dimbert has the latest. Good morning to you, Andrew.
Good morning, Will. So we're getting some new insight into that gruesome crime scene and the house where the murders took place. We're now learning that police spoke with one of the victims on the phone about 2 months before the killings as part of a noise complaint.
This morning, as authorities search for the killer of 4 University of Idaho students, newly surfaced body cam footage showing a police-involved incident at their home 2 months before they were killed.
No one that lives here is here right now.
So where'd they go?
They're just not here. I have no clue where they went. No clue.
Authorities seen responding to a noise complaint in September, greeted by people who didn't live at the house. Video showing how many outsiders were able to access the property.
It is the question that has yet to be solved. Who killed those 4 students in Moscow, Idaho? Behavioral analysts from the FBI are, as we speak, trying to profile the murderer. And while their work is a secret, the theories aren't. Is it possible that the killer was acting out of some kind of hatred of women? Before the break, we talked about the subculture known as incels. And there are two people who know that topic best. Chris Mohandi is a forensic psychologist with more than 25 years of experience in assessing and managing violent behavior. And you may well know him from his popular investigation discovery show, Most Evil. And Sarah Daly is a criminologist who has dedicated much of her life's work to studying incels and mass violence. And welcome to both of you. I couldn't have two better experts on this topic. Dr. Daly, can I begin with you? Women have rejected men since the dawn of time. What all of a sudden has changed? Why is there now all of a sudden this strange subculture that is bonded together?
Thank you for coming today. Last night, in conjunction with the Pennsylvania State Police, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, detectives arrested 28-year-old Brian Christopher Kohlberger in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, on a warrant for murders of Ethan, Zana, Madison, and Kaylee. I want to personally thank these agencies for their assistance in this case. Kohlberger resides in Pullman, Washington, and is a graduate student at Washington State University. We will provide as much information as we can about the extradition to Idaho and the criminal process. However, due to Idaho state law, we are limited in what information we can release today until Kohlberger has his initial appearance in Idaho court. I want to express my appreciation to our local community. The people of Idaho and those throughout our nation who provided information to help us investigate these murders has been very impressive. We've received over 19,000 tips and we've conducted over 300 interviews.
Wow!
To recap this case, on the evening of November 12th, Kaylee and Madison arrived home at about 1:56 a.m. after visiting a local bar and street food vendor.
One piece of, progress that I was really happy to see is that they did officially update the timeline to reflect Kaylee and Maddie getting home at 1:56 a.m. I've been pushing that from the very beginning, and it was, a step in the right direction to see that that was taken seriously and that was verified on their end as well.
Why?
So, because I think for us, it's important that the families are being listened to. We have these kids' names, but I think it's important that law enforcement understands who they were as well. Because a name can only get you so much. It doesn't explain what they would have done, how they might have responded, conversations that they had had with their loved ones. I think that that's just as valuable in this case as any other piece of evidence.
Ethan and Zana were at the Sigma Chi house before arriving home around 1:45 a.m. The two surviving roommates had also been in the community but returned around 1 a.m. On the morning of November 13th, a 911 call was made at 11:58 a.m. reporting an unconscious person at the residence. The call came from inside the home from one of the surviving roommates' cell phones. Moscow police responded and found 2 victims on the 2nd floor and 2 victims on the 3rd floor. On November 17th, autopsies were conducted and the Latah County coroner confirmed the identity of the 4 victims. The cause and manner of death was homicide by stabbing. Some had defensive wounds, and each had been stabbed multiple times. We had developed a clear picture over time, and we stand assured that the work is not done But be assured the work is not done. This is just started. Since November, we have remained laser focused on pursuing every lead in our pursuit of justice for the victims and their families. Today, I want to specifically thank our dedicated Moscow Police Department detectives, patrol officers, the Idaho State detectives, the Idaho State troopers, and their crime lab technicians and scientists, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation for the resources and personnel to conduct this massive investigation. I do want to thank our media partners for the help. You kept this in the news, you helped us with tips, you kept things going, and we truly appreciate that. And you are the product of those 19,000 tips that we received, which is an impressive number.
But I just wanted to define what we're looking at today, because about 10:45 this morning, we got what was up on the screen there, a PowerPoint that apparently Mr. Edelman prepared. And as I understand, I don't think Ms. Taylor got it until sometime this morning herself. That's the information that I was given. And we have concerns because a large part of this PowerPoint deals with the issue of a change of venue itself, which is we are not prepared to address. It is not before the court at this time. It is premature. And I don't think that it should be part of this record as we proceed forward today. And so the state took a copy of preparing a printout of the PowerPoint. It doesn't take long to look through it. Perhaps the court might want to take a look at that before we proceed, at least with eliciting things from the PowerPoint. And I realize it's last minute, but the last time that we presented something to the court in advance, Ms. Taylor complained profusely. And I realized it was only 10:45 when we got this today, and so we just figured we would raise it with you now.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Thompson. Ms. Taylor?
As far as this PowerPoint, I had access to Dr. Edelman yesterday afternoon, and we worked on it late. I didn't have a final copy to give to the state until this morning. So they have it. We are not arguing venue now. We're talking about survey and how that relates to our change of venue motion. We know we're arguing the venue change later.
Okay. Taylor, so
Actually, Ms. Taylor still has a copy of the PowerPoint that made available to the court.
okay, so it seems like this happens to me in this case that there's an argument about whether I should go ahead on something or provide some information that I don't see yet. So I feel like sometimes I'm making decisions that I'm in the blind here. So I'm gonna look this over. Any problem with that, Ms. Taylor?
Well, Judge, give me just 1 second.
All right, Your Honor, just to clarify, as we made clear the last time we reported, we are not saying Ms. Taylor herself violated the non-dissemination rule. We're saying that the people who prepared the survey and disseminated the survey and called citizens of Latah County with those fact-specific loaded questions violated the non-dissemination order, and they are agents of the defense. So I don't want this to become personal between Ms. Taylor and myself. We are not alleging Ms. Taylor has done anything wrong. We are dealing with reality that this survey was conducted on, as we understand it, 400, I'll say, innocent citizens of Latah County who were force-fed information that they may or may not have had about this case before they were called by the surveyor takers. And they are loaded questions. Some of the questions are factually wrong. They simply aren't true. That's what we're here about.
One of the terms in that, and this is in the ethics, right, is what is the public record? Public record is not traditional media. It's not social media. It's not what anyone might say in public. Okay, that's the problem that we're kind of balancing here, because the public record is a case that is available to the public in this case. I mean, I think we can all agree with that. No?
No.
You think the public record is whatever the media pumps out?
Your Honor, I think it's what's in the public, and what's in the public is derived from the affidavit that supported probable cause to arrest Brian Kohberger. That's the first document that the court finds in the whole cases of interest on Idaho State Supreme Court's website. That document has a ton of information in it that relate to the questions in the survey for the case-specific questions. So that document became public record, and that was spread far and wide all over the place and reported and interpreted repeatedly. That's the public record. That's where the questions came from. There's no violation of the non-dissemination order if that's what we're going to talk about today, but I think the court should hear from our witness and understand a little bit more about this survey process.
I'm very interested in that. I told you last time that I'm interested in what he has to say about this. But so you're saying that the public record, though, comes out of the case, right? That's public.
I'm saying in this case, that's exactly what happened, Judge. I don't want to argue the finer points of what's in the media, but I'm saying in this case, that's exactly what happened. That affidavit's there, and this court knows we have a ton of things that are filed under seal and more things that are not filed under seal. But that affidavit that began this case has been shared far and wide, and media stories have generated. When you understand how Dr. Edelman does his work to determine if a survey even needs to happen, you'll know where the information came from.
Okay, so I'm understanding, okay, the initial probable cause affidavit is part of the public record.
The problem with the media happened a long time ago, and it started with the sharing of the affidavit far and wide.
Is not true, okay? I mean, I guess we can just say, well, it's not true on some of these questions. Maybe that helps to reduce bias, but if we don't make that clear, then it could increase bias.
I'm saying there is pervasive media coverage in this case. It's prejudicial media coverage. We've conducted a survey in Latah County. That survey is going to show bias and that you shouldn't have a trial in this county. What I'm trying to do is say, do you want me to give you information about another place where maybe the bias isn't so great, where maybe Mr. Kohberger can have a fair trial?
Any response, Mr. Thompson?
We aren't here to argue about venue today. We aren't here to argue about what this particular survey with the loaded questions, fact-loaded questions, may have produced in Latah County residents. As we mentioned last week, the structure of those questions assumes that every person that is called has heard all of the media in this case. And we know that that just simply isn't true. So for those citizens in this county who have not heard all of the rumors, who have not been following the media, who haven't inspected the court record, who are essentially ignorant of facts in this case, well, that's just been jaundiced by the questions that were asked. They have now been force-fed facts, some of which are not true, some of which would not be offered in court, and in fact, probably wouldn't legally be admissible in court, to somebody who may never have heard them before. That's the state's concern about the way this thing is put together. And the arguments from the defense seem to be completely ignoring that point. That there are people out here who don't know all the things that they were being asked, and by asking the fact-specific questions, we were inoculating them with information that they didn't have before about this case that could affect their ability to sit as jurors. It's just simply irresponsible. It doesn't make sense. But that's not what was done, Judge.
Well, I know. We have to fix this in some way.
Yes, sir.
That's what you said last time. And so I just want to help the public understand that this is not the trial. Comfortable having this come out into the public?
Yes. After last week's hearing, absolutely.
Okay. And you looked at it, Mr. Thompson?
You have concerns, Judge.
Is it alarming?
Well, part of what's in there is a part of the survey study being published now, if this comes to the public without any comparison to anything else. And it's the product of these loaded questions. It takes us back to the fundamental issue of how this survey was conducted and the assumption that the people who were being called already knew all this stuff. And so it didn't hurt to specifically ask them, have you heard about such and such and such, the specific item? Well, if they hadn't heard about it before, they sure as heck have heard about it now. That's the core concern that led us to this in the first place. We don't dispute the defense doing a survey. I said that last week. Please do a survey, but don't go around screwing with the knowledge that prospective jurors have or may not have. That's our concern. And, Your Honor, when we parted ways last week, the court said, Ms. Taylor, talk with Mr. Edelman and see what the options are. Well, my understanding from the email I received day before yesterday is the survey cannot be changed. That was from Ms. Taylor reporting what Dr. Edelman said. I interpret that as they don't want to change it. Anything can be done, but that's where we're left. I would have been happy to engage in discussion with defense about maybe some middle ground, but the line has been drawn black and white. I am concerned about the specific things that relate to venue, partial survey results that are in this PowerPoint. I believe it is premature for them to come out now. The rest of it is fine. Let's bring it out so that you have whatever information you want. You can give it the weight that you decide. I just didn't want to let this willy-nilly come into the public record in a half-baked fashion.
And there's a three-stage process. So the first phase is collecting the media coverage. Because really the question is, initially, is there extensive coverage and is there prejudicial coverage? So I collect the coverage and assess the nature of that coverage. Does it include inflammatory language? Does it include inadmissible or misinformation? Now, just because it's not true does not mean people don't see it, and it does not mean that they don't develop opinions based on that information. So it's very important. In fact, some of that stuff is the most prejudicial stuff that there can possibly be. For example, if there is a prior conviction and then the conviction's thrown out, well, that's pretty prejudicial for the new trial. Not admissible, but very prejudicial. It had an impact on the jury pool. That's what matters, because they develop opinions and attitudes. And it doesn't make a difference if that fact is true or false. They still develop an opinion and an attitude about the defendant, about the evidence and perceptions of guilt. All of that is what I'm looking at. So I want to see if the media coverage has had an impact. And that's why we do a community attitude survey.
I want to understand a little bit about the source of media you review to do your work. Can you tell me what you take a look at?
I always take a conservative.
Your Honor, I'm sorry, I need to object. This PowerPoint is being played for everybody with no foundation. It's not an exhibit. I think that's improper. I mean, I'm trying to listen to Dr. Edelman's testimony, and I keep seeing slides changing in front of me over here, and I don't think that's appropriate.
Well, you've seen the slides.
I have.
You looked at
But
them.
everybody else here hasn't.
What I'm seeing here, though, is just an explanation of how he goes about in surveys.
Understand that. That's what his testimony is. But we're getting this visual aid that there's no foundation for, Judge.
Well,
It just seems.
Well, hold on. I'm viewing him as an expert. Okay?
Yes, sir.
And he's explaining what he does. So I'm going
No
to.
problem with that. The PowerPoint's the problem. I don't have any problem with his testimony.
All right.
I'm sorry. Frankly, I've never seen something like this occur.
That objection. I mean, this is not necessarily factual. It's just an example of how he got to where he got.
That's his testimony, but the PowerPoint is different, Judge. I don't know why we're seeing the PowerPoint when we have his testimony. Judge, we don't have a jury here. Let's just proceed.
Thank you, Sue. Go ahead.
Dr. Edelman, we were talking about where you get your information. We were talking about the what? Where you get your information. What media do you look at? I think that's where.
Yes. So I take a conservative approach to how I do it. I look at newspapers in the local coverage right now. So I'm interested in papers that have primary circulation in the venue. Case like this has been reported in many other newspapers, but I wouldn't, for example, look at a newspaper published in Dallas because I don't know if somebody in Latah County would be looking at a paper in Dallas. So I look at the local coverage. I try to look at like local television coverage to see what the community is likely exposed to.
Was the sole source of the information that you used contained in the media?
Was it came from the media? Sorry. Yes. Everything I used was widely disseminated through the media. Widely disseminated.
Did you find out where the media got the information?
Yes.
Good afternoon, folks. My name is Bill Thompson. I'm the Latah County prosecutor. And it's sad to be here, but happy to be here at the same time.
Turn it up. I can't hear.
Kohlberger. Let me preface, there's a pending case now in court, and I and my office and the investigators have to live with the restrictions that our Supreme Court places on pretrial publicity. That said, I promise you we will share with you through the court process or otherwise whatever we are allowed to. I just appreciate your patience on that. The factual basis for the charges are summarized in what's called a probable cause affidavit that is on file with the court. According to the rules of the Idaho Supreme Court, that is sealed until Mr. Kohlberger is physically back in Latah County and has been served with the Idaho arrest warrant. At that time, we expect that that affidavit will be available to you so you can share the true facts with all of your readers and your watchers and your listeners and all the people who are interested and really need to know what's going on. So please have patience with us on that. We hope to get that to you as soon as we can.
In that clip, you heard reference to the probable cause affidavit.
Yes.
And did you hear reference to sharing it with all your readers and watchers?
Readers, watchers, and listeners, and anyone else who's interested. To Latah County, saturating the community with prejudicial details from that document, which was reported in the press conference to be truthful as well. 54,000 views, 176 comments on just one other video of a news clip on YouTube. Are there references to questioning the implication of people knew about the crime before it was reported to the police and so on? So there's been quite a bit of discussion, spread of rumors, misinformation, factual information all over social media, which you'd expect in small communities such as this. Specific attitudes predict behavior much more than general attitudes. So a community like this has been saturated with media coverage that's prejudicial. You want to know what case-specific details they know, because that goes to bias, and are we able to ferret out that bias in jury selection? And that's why we include those questions in our survey.
Have you had the opportunity to pay attention to any prejudicial media coverage since the hearing last week?
I have.
What is that coverage?
Well, it created a misrepresentation, false narrative that we, myself specifically, had done something wrong to poison the well, taint the jury pool, and using language like that. That became part of the narrative. I saw it on Reddit, on social media, in the news, that once again, going into this idea of what the story was, that the defense had done something wrong, debate about whether it was part of their tactic to delay, get him off on a technicality, and so on. Again, what I did, just want to be clear, is the standard practice in the industry, done hundreds of times in high-profile cases throughout this country. There's nothing I did to contaminate the jury pool. Everything I included was widely disseminated by the media in this county hundreds of times, if not more. And most of it came directly from an affidavit that the government released in a press conference and encouraged everyone to report.
Johnson,
Thank you, Honor. Maybe we'll start going backwards here, or from the back to the front topic. I'm sorry if your feelings get hurt about us raising this issue. I see you were almost breaking down a few minutes ago when we were talking about slide number 33, slide number 31. That's not the intent, and it's certainly, I'm surprised to see that reaction from an experienced expert such as yourself. So I apologize for that.
I accept your apology, but the idea of, after working really hard 15 years to develop a credible reputation and being told, watching on a Zoom, that I am tainting the jury pool and poisoning the jury pool and contaminating the jury pool by doing what's required and standard, I'm not crying. I'm angry. Okay. And yes, it does offend.
And please go ahead and be as angry as you like as you continue your work with the defense in this case. It is a fact, though, that you don't know of the, 400 citizens that were questioned on this survey. You don't know which ones of them did not already previously know any of the fact-specific representations in your questions. Isn't that true?
I do know, because they answered yes or no to the question.
No. Oh, well, okay. Before you asked the question, you didn't know that. Isn't that correct?
That's correct.
And so, somebody who hadn't heard the representation in that one slide that you acknowledged was false. Let's see. You acknowledged false that Mr. Koberger allegedly stalked one of the victims. That's false. You know that to be false.
Which one?
That Mr. Koberger allegedly stalked one of the victims.
Yes, I was trying not to say that because.
But you knew that was false.
I did.
Yes. And so you have now, for anybody who had never heard that before, that question is now planted into them, unqualified representation that Mr. Koberger stalked one of the witnesses, and that's false.
That's false? Yes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Fine.
And just to follow up on that, early on in your testimony, you testified, I want to make sure that we heard this correctly, that inadmissible or false information can be the most prejudicial information.
It can be.
Yes. And your surveyors put that false information into the minds of people who were asked that question who may not have previously heard it. Correct.
Correct. Relative to the media.
Thank you.
It's mentioned it hundreds and thousands of times.
And just make sure we're clear too. Around the same time in your testimony, I believe you testified that you don't care if the information that you put in your specific questions to the people being surveyed is correct. That you said that, didn't you?
Right. I don't know what you mean by correct.
True or false?
I care about whether or not it's proliferated by the media.
You don't care if it's true?
No, I don't. I don't care about is it prejudicial.
So it's okay to taint people who had never heard that information before for the end result of identifying others who have and might have bias. Is that a fair statement?
I'm going to object to the questions. He's
he can answer
he's
the question.
badgering.
Wait.
Let me finish my objection.
Yeah, it's an objection.
He's badgering the witness. He's misstating his testimony, and I object.
The witness testified he didn't care if the information was correct, Judge.
Yeah, overruled. So,
may I?
So just
no, that's okay.
One person can talk at a time, and let's take down the tone a little bit.
Yes, sir. Okay, just so we're clear, the questions, fact-specific questions were propounded to people who were taking the survey, did not, after asking the question even, qualify the false facts as saying this may or may not be true, or this is actually a false fact. The survey didn't tell them that what they might have heard was false.
First of all, I don't call them facts because they're media items. And then second of all, that would be ridiculous. And no, I wouldn't do that in a survey. Are you suggesting I follow up? Have you read, seen, or heard if he stalked? And oh, by the way, if you know that, let me tell you, it's not true.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm suggesting, because isn't that exactly what happens in the voir dire process?
No.
Absolutely it does.
Your Honor, I'm going to object. Argumentative.
Okay, yeah, you don't get to testify exactly about that, so I'll sustain you.
Dr. Ellman, have you participated as an attorney in voir dire in Idaho under Idaho laws?
Have I what?
Have you participated as an attorney in voir dire, conducted voir dire in a criminal case in Idaho?
No, I haven't.
And just to be clear, because in two places, at the beginning and at the end of your testimony and your PowerPoint, this PowerPoint, you created that as Ms. Taylor. So you adopt the contents of the PowerPoint.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Just to be clear, not every fact-specific question that your surveyors asked came directly from the probable cause affidavit. Isn't that true?
Well, to be clear, they're not facts. They're media items.
They're representations of
Your Honor,
fact
I'm going to object.
in the PC affidavit.
Hold on.
I'm objecting and ask that he allow Dr. Edelman to complete his answer before he jumps back in.
They're simple yes or no questions.
What was your question?
Look, yeah.
So, Dr. Edelman, isn't it true that there are, among the 9 fact-specific questions, that's my characterization of the 9 questions, we know which ones we're talking about. Not all of the representations in those questions came from the probable cause affidavit. Isn't that true?
That is true.
And are you aware that under Idaho law, probable cause affidavits in criminal cases become open to the public by operation of court rule once a person is arrested and appears in court?
I'm sure that's true. I'm just not used to having press conferences to tell the media to disseminate the information far and wide.
Oh, so let's talk about that. That press conference was made prior to Mr. Koberger's appearance, prior to the release of the affidavit, and the press conference only referred the media to what would be part of the official court record. Isn't that true?
I don't know. All I heard was this is going to be released. I encourage you to tell your listeners and viewers and anybody who's interested in the truth.
By going to the court record and looking at the probable cause affidavit. Isn't that true?
I recall you saying, I want you to go to the court record and look at the probable cause affidavit. And what it did was
We're splitting hairs now, doctor. That's fine. I don't have any other questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
I would like to invite Bill Thompson, the county prosecutor, up at this time.
Good afternoon, folks. My name is Bill Thompson. I'm the Latah County prosecutor. And it's sad to be here, but happy to be here at the same time. As Chief Fry indicated, a criminal complaint was filed yesterday here in Latah County, charging the defendant, Mr. Kohlberger, with 4 counts of first-degree murder, in addition to felony burglary, which involves entering the residence with the intent to commit the crime of murder. Mr. Kohlberger, and let me preface, there is a pending case now in court, and I and my office and the investigators have to live with the restrictions that our Supreme Court places on pretrial publicity. That said, I promise you we will share with you, through the court process or otherwise, whatever we are allowed to. I just appreciate your patience on that. The factual basis for the charges are summarized in what's called a probable cause affidavit that is on file with the court. According to the rules of the Idaho Supreme Court, that is sealed until Mr. Kohlberger is physically back in Latah County and has been served with the Idaho arrest warrant. At that time, we expect that that affidavit will be available to you so you can share the true facts with all of your readers and your watchers and your listeners and all the people who are interested and really need to know what's going on. So please have patience with us on that. We hope to get that to you as soon as we can. Your primary source of factual information is going to be the court record, because that's what the Supreme Court says we need to refer you to. So please pay attention to what's going on in court and have people there to watch and hear what's being said. As an attorney, myself and my office, we are limited on what we are allowed by the courts to say outside of the courtroom. So please just work with us. Finally, as the chief indicated, this is not the end of this investigation. In fact, this is a new beginning. You all now know the name of the person who has been charged with these offenses. Please get that information out there. Please ask the public, anyone who knows about this individual, to come forward. Call the tip line. Report anything you know about him to help the investigators and eventually our office and the court system understand fully everything there is to know about not only the individual, but what happened and why.
Certainly appreciate the support of the local community and our national audience that has been following us as our investigators have worked through this case. I'm thankful also to you, the media partners, who have helped keep this case in the forefront that generates the tips and we hope will continue to generate information that will help us to a conclusion of this proceeding.
Lauren Patterson, Northwest Public Broadcasting, Spokane Public Radio. I realize the records are sealed. I guess I'm not too familiar with how it works, but can you tell us what tip, what lead, what piece of evidence really led you all the way from Idaho to the suspect in Pennsylvania?
As I've said in the past, that's part of our investigation, and we won't be releasing that at this time. We will have those answers. We'll have them as soon as we can make those available to you.
Then a quick follow-up and a two-parter. Is our community safe, or is law enforcement still on the search for other suspects who might be involved in this attack?
What I can tell you is we have an individual in custody who committed these horrible crimes, and I do believe our community is safe, but we still need to be vigilant, right? We still have talked about this in the past. We always need to be aware of our surroundings and make sure that we're aware of what's going on.
Hi, Chief. How soon into the investigation did police and law enforcement begin to spot Mr. Kohberger as a potential suspect? And a follow-up, how many tips, if you can say, were specifically related to Mr. Kohberger?
To the tip part, honestly, I can't answer that question, so I'm not even going to speculate on that. On the other part, that's part of our investigation, and it will come out. I'd like the mic to please come right over here.
Thank you. Dana Griffin with NBC News. Can you confirm that Kohberger asked whether or not anyone else had been arrested when he was in custody?
I cannot confirm that, or I'm not sure of that information, but that would still be a part of our investigation.
Did CODIS initially return any hits on this guy?
That's still part of our investigation. That will come out. If we could get somebody over here, please.
Say the King Street house where the 4 University of Idaho students were killed will remain an active crime scene until police control and get it under control. And starting tomorrow, a private company will begin remediation services at the house, including the removal of potential biohazards and other harmful substances used to collect evidence. Now, there's no timeline for completion, but the property will be returned to the property management company when finished. Investigators are still processing nearly 20,000 tips and have conducted more than 300 interviews. They are also still looking for information regarding that 2011 to 2013 white Hyundai Elantra in connection to this case. If you have any information for Moscow police, contact the number on your screen for their tip line. That's 208-883-7180.
I'm Nancy Liu with News Nation, and we were over at the house this morning, and you told us that the remediation would begin today. It was suddenly stopped. Can you tell us why?
Yes. The house cleanup has been halted, and that came by a legal request from the court.
Now to the new details on the University of Idaho murders and the suspect under arrest. Police saying today that they believe Brian Kohberger acted alone and don't anticipate additional arrests. The 28-year-old graduate student was taken into custody yesterday in Pennsylvania, thousands of miles from the crime scene, now facing 4 counts of first-degree murder. ABC's Kana Whitworth back on this tonight from Moscow, Idaho.
Tonight, police in Moscow confident the only person responsible in the heinous murders of those 4 college students is in custody.
We believe we have our guy, the one that committed these murders.